person for me.
Hello, welcome to Conjugal Bliss. I am Dr. Priscilla Ashonibare. Thank you for joining us. For some weeks now, we've been discussing about the topic adultery. We've spoken about what is adultery, types of adultery, reasons people give for going into adultery. And last week we spoke about the effect of adultery on the adulterer. And we mentioned that there's fear of exposure, there's fear of abandonment, the adulterer will experience emotional fragmentation, and we even said sometimes they become defensive. In they're trying to be defensive, they will project whatever they're doing on the spouse. They'll become overly irritable and sensitive, trying to put the spouse, at a corner where the spouse will be at their mercy, accusing the spouse of being the one that is in an adulterous relationship, whereas they were the one that were into it. And they become hyper vigilant and things like that. And so just to let you know that the adulterer is not just having a ride of his life or having a ride of her life and enjoying her life in the adultery. They also go through some torture, torment, as the Bible will say, that fear has torment. They also go through some negative effects that the being in an adulterous relationship will have on them. So today let's continue by talking about the effect of adultery on the betrayed spouse. Effect of adultery on the betrayed spouse. And many times this is what people do know, that, don't break the heart of your spouse, don't do this to your spouse, don't tell your spouse. So they let people know when you're doing this, you're going to affect your spouse. Yes, but much more than that. Let us try and explain what are these things so that we can all have an understanding of what a betrayed spouse will go through should they now discover that their spouse is into an adulterous relationship. Adultery will cause symptoms. Okay, let me put it this way. The betrayed spouse will experience symptoms that people who are going through post-traumatic stress disorder is experiencing. So when you say, how can you, okay, let me explain it. Now, the adultery that a spouse get to know that his or her spouse is into, okay, will make that betrayed spouse to have these feelings, to experience these symptoms, to go through life with all these negative effects. Because the adultery to the betrayed spouse is a traumatic experience. It's a traumatic thing. It is traumatizing for a spouse to discover that his wife, his wife, her husband, that they went to the altar together to sign and say, I'm going to live with you, forsake all others, and be with you only, and boom, discover the person had not been faithful. So when we say it's traumatizing, what is a traumatic event? It's a deeply distressing experience that overwhelms a person. It will so much overwhelm the person that it will affect the ability of the person to cope. It will cause lasting negative effect on the functioning. I'm talking of the betrayed spouse, the well-being, the view of the world, the view of themselves, the view of people around, the view of relationship. And all this will make this betrayed spouse to have a feeling of hopelessness and even sometimes helplessness. So you can see how it will affect them. It can make the spouse to go into a state of shock. Just recently, I heard of this, my neighbor. Okay, what happened? I remember there was a time when I was talking about gratitude, and I spoke about a neighbor that, because we have these pawpaw trees in our compound, my house. So one day I got this very big and nice pawpaw, and I told someone in my family, please go and give it to this woman. And I gave it to her. And if you can remember, if you listen to that program, and I said that for a whole month, she never said anything about it. She never said thank you. She never even acknowledged the fact that I gave her the pawpaw. Okay. Now, this woman recently, I now discovered that one time, some time ago, she discovered that the husband was in an adulterous relationship, and she went into a state of shock and lost her mind. And they tried. Yes, she came back, but not totally. And unfortunately, right now, she had just been diagnosed of breast cancer. So you can see, ah, the betrayed spouse. That is what we are talking about. It would give the betrayed spouse a very distressing, overwhelming shock that will stop the person from able to function. It will affect the person's physical health. It will affect the person's mental state. It can even affect the person's ability to function at the place of work, to the extent that the person can even lose control of him or herself. Adultery often triggers trauma, betrayed trauma, and to be so traumatic that to bring about some of the symptoms. So now let's talk about the symptoms. There'll be anxiety. Who won't be anxious? Who won't be going through that state? Of course, they'll be wondering what else will happen. What will my life be? What is the next thing that will happen? What is another shock that is behind the door? Are there children somewhere that I don't know about? And is life as I know it? Is it true? So there'll be anxiety and depression, and there'll be, of course, like that woman that I said that she lost her mind. There was even the case of this lady. In her own case, it was a state of depression. She was depressed. She couldn't even function anymore. And another case is this betrayed spouse. Maybe the betrayed spouse is still with a spouse and all that. They will now become hyper vigilant, even when the adulterous spouse had already asked for forgiveness, they've forgiven, and their life is continuing. But the betrayed spouse will now be hyper vigilant, and that would make that betrayed spouse to be overly suspicious of any opposite sex that is coming close to their spouse, because they'll be thinking maybe something is going on again. And because of that, there'll be intrusive thoughts that'll be coming. There'll be loss of trust, and even the betrayed spouse, they also will experience identity confusion. That is when they will ask themselves, so what is this marriage now? Okay, who am I to this person? What is this person that I think I got married to? What kind of a person is he? Who is this person that I got married to? Am I really sure I know this person? And they will start even doubting themselves. There's also, because of this, of course, there'll be shattered emotional safety. The betrayed spouse can even sometimes experience panic attacks where they all of a sudden they experience shortness of breath, and it's just so sad. It is a grave experience for the betrayed spouse. The sleep disturbance, of course, with all the anxiety, the depression, uncertainty that they are experiencing, the identity confusion, all this around, definitely there'll be sleep disturbance because the life that the betrayed spouse thought they were living actually had been a lie all along. Also, there'll be low self-esteem. The spouse will be wondering, what happened? Am I not mad enough? What happened? Am I not beautiful enough? What have I done wrong? Is it that I'm not a good wife? Is it that I'm not a good husband? So the betrayed spouse will go through a stage of low self-esteem. And this can even make them to start blaming themselves and say, maybe it was because this that I didn't do, maybe it was because this that I did, maybe because this that I said, maybe because this that I didn't say. There's also shame as well. Shame goes with it, especially if such a couple are in a tight community, or they are in a church community, or anywhere they are. This betrayed spouse will even bear the shame. When they are going, they'll think someone is talking about what happened. Oh, that is the wife of the adulterous man. Oh, that is the husband of the adulterous lady. So adultery brings about same feeling like when in grief for the death of a loved one. I repeat, adultery to the betrayed spouse, okay, brings about feelings like when somebody is grieving for a dead loved one. The person would, it is like, okay, let me put it this way. It is like grieving for someone who is alive. That experience of being betrayed would be like somebody that is, there's the person is alive, but you are grieving for him, you are grieving for her. The pain is often deeper than physical loss of a loved one, the pain of adultery, because it will shatter the life, the emotional state of the betrayed spouse totally. I remember there was a time when an elderly man in one of the parishes, okay, he told us about, we were discussing about marriage then in our church, and he told us about, they said some years ago, because of that elderly man, that when he was younger, they were doing a research, and they decided to go to the psychiatric hospital and try to see, what are the reasons people that makes people to end up in psychiatric hospitals. And he said when he got there, they now said, okay, let's see what are they now discovered that there was a difference between what brought men into the psychiatric hospital compared to what brought women into psychiatric hospital. They discovered that for the men, most times it was because of a deal that they didn't push through it, or because of somebody cheated them, a business that shattered. It was because of, anyway, it's mostly something that pertains to money. That was what brought men into the psychiatric hospital. And they said they now discovered that for the women, when they got there, they discovered it was because of a failed relationship. It was because of they discovered that the husband, was in an adulterous relationship. So for the women, they discovered that most of the reasons why they were there was linked to relationship. Oh, so you see, to the betrayed spouse, it is so deep and serious. So deep and serious. Now, let's quickly talk about what is the effect of this adulterous relationship on the marriage itself. And if we cannot finish, we're going to be continuing next week. So let's see how far we can go. Now, the adultery, the effect it will have on the marriage is that it has a deep, long-lasting effect, negative, long-lasting effect on the marriage, because it is not just a broken ride. No, it is not just a collapse of the marriage. No, it is more than that. It is the collapse of trust, the collapse of safety, the collapse of identity, the collapse of life as the spouses thought they had, especially for the betrayed spouse. There's going to be a breakdown of trust and safety between the spouses. Trust is one of the most important foundations of marriage. It is a very important foundation of marriage. And if it is lost, it is very hard to get again. Yes, some marriages have been able to get it, but it will take a long time. As a matter of fact, sometimes it will take years. Let me try and explain it this way. Trust is in marriage is like you building a skyscraper. For example, maybe the building had like uh 70 floors, okay? And it took you months or even sometimes years to finish, erecting the building. And all of a sudden, some people came with dynamite, applied the dynamite on the skyscraper, and the whole building collapsed in just some few seconds. That exactly is what adultery does to trust in marriage. It destroys the marriage completely, except when healing takes place. It's the spouses will find it difficult, especially the betrayed spouse, to believe his or her spouse again, because once trust is broken in marriage, as I said, it will take years to rebuild, even if it is rebuilt at all. So the first thing to do is make sure you do not lose the trust in the marriage. And because of this, because there's no trust, even some spouses might end up becoming paranoid. They're just suspecting and suspecting and suspecting so much that it's something else. Okay. The other effect that adultery will bring on the marriage is that there's going to be emotional disconnection between the couple. Couple, they will often experience withdrawal, emotional shutdown, emotional roller coaster, emotional fragmentation. Yes, they want to continue with the marriage. No, they don't want to continue with the marriage. Yes, they want to be cordial again. No, they don't. So there's going to be up and down, up and down. I remember when emotional fragmentation was to the extreme of this lady. It happened that she was the one that went into the adulterous relationship. I'm talking of this woman. And when the husband got to know, they went through the time of healing. The husband said, okay, no problem. I forgive you. Let's continue our lives as, we can continue with it now. And this woman now said that whenever she was intimate with her spouse, with her husband, that she will now look at the husband, and what she was seeing on the face of the husband was the face of an animal. So she said, and she was the one who went into the adulterous relationship. So to cut the long story short, she now went back to the third party, the man that she had the adulterous relationship with, and said, sorry, I can't continue with my husband. Can we continue? And the man said, sorry, now that is out of the, in the public, I cannot continue with you. I love my wife. I have to go back to my wife and try to make it work with my wife. So she lost on both sides. She couldn't stay with her husband. The adulterous partner wouldn't take her. She ended up living her life alone. What a price to pay. Okay, so another thing that, another negative effect that the adultery will have on the marriage, on the relationship between the husband and the wife, is it will increase conflicts. They'll be having several conflicts due to the pain of the adultery. Remember, the pain is still raw, especially to the betrayed spouse. And there'll be lots of defensiveness sometimes from the adulterous person, just trying to, some can be overly defensive and some can, now be like, okay, pour everything on me and all that. Yet there's going to be always be conflict in one way or the other. There'll be loss of intimacy and companionship. Yes, they are together, but it's not like that, because the betrayed spouse is still mourning the death of the marriage that used to be, because they seem not to know, not to understand, not to be able to say, who is this person now that is right in front of me? Am I sure I can trust this person again? So intimacy would be affected. They will not be able to enjoy each other's company as they used to before the discovery of the adultery. And because it is as if they are They are two strangers. Now, the marriage might become too plastic and hollow because of the loss of what used to be. And there will be the pain, and because of the pain and the anger, it may be overwhelming for the betrayed spouse, and healing can be very difficult. There'll be emotional detachment as well. Yes, they are staying together, but they are not bonding. Yes, they are still under the same roof, but they are just there because sometimes because of what people will say, we cannot stop the relationship. Sometimes because people who came in to mediate, they said you have to just continue in the relationship and give time for the healing. So they will just try to make it work, but the bonding is not there anymore. There's also going to be damage to communication between the spouses. It could either be defensiveness, it could be throwing around of blame. It was your fault, it was because you didn't do this. Even between the spouses, the adulterer and the betrayed spouse, there will be explosion in the arguments. Or sometimes it could even be emotional numbness, um, whereby especially the betrayed spouse will now just keep quiet. They will not even react. And don't that take silence for healing. No, it is because sometimes the betrayed spouse does not know how to react to it. It is so overwhelming that does not know how to come out of that shock. And there are also going to be avoidance of difficult conversation. The normal conversation that they could have, and have a little not seeing eye to eye thing. Okay, no, I don't want this way, I want that way. Won't be something that is normal anymore. That means healthy communication will be affected. What they will now be having is there'll be high level of criticism, sarcasm, kitchen sinking, and contempt, high level of negative communication in the marriage. Okay, let's stop here for today. I believe that you've been able to get to understand some of the negative effects that adultery will have, not only on the adulterer, on the betrayed spouse, also on the relationship between the spouses. Okay, let me just add two more. Another thing is there'll be identity crisis in the marriage before we finish. And you know that statistically, clinically, and biblically, adultery is the basis for separation or divorce. That is just it. But I pray that the Lord will help every married person listening to me to have a marriage that is adultery proof. And should there have been an adultery, the Lord will help you with the healing. Thank you so much for joining us. By the grace of God, we're going to be here again to continue our topic on adultery. Make sure you join us. And until I come your way again, God bless you.